Anytime I hear about the National Guard being called in for a protest, I instantly think about what happened at Kent State University during the Vietnam War protest. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about here, let me give you a little history lesson. So on April 30th, 1970, then President Nixon announced to the American public that we would be expanding the war in Vietnam by invading Cambodia. And people were pissed because, well, for one, we shouldn't have been involved in this war in the first place. And he had ran on the platform that we were going to be cutting back and essentially ending the war in Vietnam. So students all over the country took to protesting at college campuses all over the country, including at Kent State University. So on May 1st, they protested, and it started off as a very peaceful protest. But over the next couple of days, things started escalating, kind of like protests tend to do as more and more people get involved in them. Law enforcement was called out, tear gas was thrown, and the Ohio National Guard was eventually called out. And that's where things really took a turn for the worse. The students and the guardsmen were kind of getting into it, with students seen throwing rocks at guardsmen, and the local elected officials were not making anything better. They kept making statements about how these student protesters were not wanted and that they were going to ban these protests from continuing to happen. However, another rally was still scheduled for Monday, May 4th, despite the fact that elected officials and local law enforcement had told everybody that, hey, these rallies were no longer going to be allowed. And in addition to all of these thousands of people that showed up, over 100 National Guard members showed up as well. And at first, there was just a bit of a standoff, with everybody just kind of facing off against one another. But eventually, the National Guard members told everybody to go home and disperse. Now, while the National Guard is telling everybody to go home, that's when things really start to escalate. Protesters are yelling, rocks are being thrown. And I probably should have mentioned this, but the National Guard is carrying military-style pew-pews. And pretty soon, they begin to use them. And for 13 seconds, they use them to fire on those protesters. And after it's all said and done, 4 students lost their lives and 9 were injured. So next time you're wondering what the National Guard can and will do when it comes to a protest, just think about Kent State. Also might want to think about the fact that those were white students. So yeah.